What is something that really freaks you out on an existential level? Looking at the old photos of my ancestors that my great uncle left me. I have no idea who any of the people in them are, but a lot of them look kinda like me, or vice versa really. It's feeling weird thinking about all the people who've lived and died and left really no legacy at all. Forgotten. And knowing I'll be forgotten too. Probably less than even 50 years after I die. It's sobering and makes me realize there is really no use trying to live a life I don't enjoy. If I don't like my job I should quit. If I want to live somewhere else, I should just go there. Tomorrow is guaranteed to no one. How you can trace the whole path of your life to some small, seemingly inconsequential event. Decades ago, when I was new to this area, I met a guy on the golf course and we became friends. I met others through him, and now 90% of my friends and contacts can be traced back to that meeting. If I had not golfed that day, or got one extra red light on the way to the course, would I have a whole separate set of friends now? That every public institution, every province of government, every law of any nation, it all works, because a sufficiently high percentage of people silently assent that it does. It doesn't matter what type of government is in place. If 70% of the population woke up tomorrow and decided that currency has no value and governance is unnecessary, that's exactly what would happen. That the tiniest, most inconsequential decision can completely change the entire course of your life. Nearly 20 years ago, I needed some new shoes for work. As a poor student I got the cheapest pair I could find. 2 days later, I was supposed to be going straight from work to a club with my friends when, halfway through my shift, the sole half ripped off one of the shoes. I didn't have enough time to get home, change my shoes, and get back to work before everyone left for the club, so I just went home and gave it a miss. That night, I started chatting with someone on a forum. A year later, went to visit them in America. 2 years later I moved to America, and we got married. 10 years after that we both moved back to the UK. Had I chosen a different pair of shoes, I'd never met my wife, never moved to America, and my life would be completely different now. Because shoes. How much quicker time goes by as you get older. Remember when you were 5 and a summer vacation felt like a whole lifetime? I just wanna be a kid again. Life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end the faster it goes. Every so often I'll see myself in a mirror and I'm reminded that I'm a conscious person able to influence the world around me. Sometimes I get so hung up on the daily routines and the little challenges here and there that I forget that I'm a mind connected to a physical body. It's feeling surreal for a few seconds, but then I realize that it's always been like this. Edit. Thank you for the gold. I totally did not think this happened to other people. Okay, so most adults have at least some concept of the vastness of the universe. Each of us contains an almost unbelievable wealth of knowledge in our brains. They are essentially a universe unto themselves. Yet we can come into contact with another person and, in a matter of seconds, boil their entire existence down to, well, he's an asshole. That it's a strong possibility I'll be alone with no family by the time I die. All my friends are married and having kids, and I'm just here like, welp, maybe I'll try dating again. People say life isn't a race, but if you aren't at the same pace as everyone else, when they leave you behind for their own lives, then it's not really a race anymore, is it? You just kind of hobble for a decade then cry at intersections when a red light takes too long. It takes a, admittedly microscopic, amount of time for your brain to process every stimulus that you receive. This means that you are never perceiving reality in real time. There's the slightest delay between reality and your perception of it. What's worse is that your brain lies to you and tries to trick you about it. Find a clock with a second hand. Look away. Now look right at it. See, the second hand takes just a little longer to move that first second than all the other seconds that come after? That's because your first glimpse of the hand moving is blurry. So your brain waits for it to be in focus, copies that frame, and pastes it backwards instead of the blur. Your brain literally pauses time to make things look how you'd expect it to look. If it's lying about that, what else is it lying about? Knowledge lost. Societies that existed millennia before ours had incredibly complex social structures, massive infrastructure, built incredible wonders, understood boggling amounts of modern math, and did it all in harsher conditions with less technology. So clearly they were smart and capable, at least some. Imagine all the great knowledge that they had which we lost. All the theorems or observations they made in societies that lasted 10 times as long as many of today's, which disappeared in war or accident. Knowledge defines man. We are a species of filers who wish to make pattern and sense out of chaos. Yet knowledge is so very fragile. I always realize the enormity of the universe when checking my mailbox. Walk down my driveway, mostly zoning out. My mailbox is across the street in the neighbor's front yard for some fucking reason, so I fart across the street. And it's always then that I look up and see the moon or the stars and just feel hilariously ridiculous. Somehow the enormity of the universe stands out even more to me when I'm putting it against 2 spam credit card offers, an excise tax bill, and the grocery store flyer I throw out before even getting back in the house. It's just impossible to reconcile. All of the planets known to man fit between me and this space rock. I'm a tiny speck, floating on a slightly less tiny speck, hurling wildly through the void of space, and hey, bone-in pork chops are $1.99 a pound. Neat. Edit. Hey, neat. Thanks. Also, I guess enormity doesn't mean enormousness like I assumed, so I learned something today. I'm gonna try answering with a positive twist. Death, life, and time are interchangeably meaningless. You can be dead and continue to exist, influencing the living in a manner indistinguishable from when you breathed and perspired. I had a friend kill himself a couple years back, and I'm still running into that motherfucker. He's still an active part in whatever life it is that I'm experiencing. It's more than he's still in our hearts, and serves as a bit of icing on an otherwise bland existential funereal cake. The more people that I lose, the less troubled by death I become. The closer I come to death, the friendlier it seems. Death invites us not to terrorize, but to remind us, none of this is real anyways. Come on in. That no matter how much you get to know someone, no matter how much you share your life, learn about them, feel as though you are almost the same person, there will always be an infinite gulf between who you think they are and who they really are. You cannot know someone else. You can only know your perception of them. Your experience of that person flows through the filter of your personality, your experiences and memories, your biases and intuitions. You don't know them, you know your conception of them. Subjectivity of experience makes truly knowing another person completely impossible. We are all perfectly isolated souls, completely separate from everyone else, desperately reaching out to convince ourselves we aren't really alone. Every time we step outside of our houses could be the time we never come back. At any moment, some freak accident could happen and kill any one of us. Our lives are just an endless stream of consciousness, worrying about our own problems, worrying about this, worrying about that, but it could all come to a screeching halt in a split second, and we'd be gone from the world in an instant. I'm a biker. I think about this every single time I straddle that seat, every time I put on that helmet. This could be my last ride. That's the risk I take with a hobby that I love. Edit. Your responses are incredible, but let me clarify. I ride a motorcycle, not a bicycle. Chimpanzees. I have never really been able to articulate this as well as I would like, but the existence of chimpanzees is deeply disturbing to me in a very indescribable fashion. They are basically us except for a few very minor and completely random mutations that made us slightly better at analyzing patterns and communicating with each other. Whenever I see a chimpanzee, I'm really confronted with the fact that we humans are just another animal species, mostly controlled by instinct and making our decisions based on an incredibly biased framework of sensory perception and mental processing that was developed to survive a hunter-gatherer lifestyle on the African savanna. Did you know that to show submission to the leader of their pack, chimpanzees will come before him and bow to show their respect? That blew my mind, because humans have been bowing to their leaders since we had leaders. and we can invent all kinds of justifications for it. He's descended from the gods. He led our armies to victory over the foreign barbarians. I agree with his views on tax policy, but at the end of the day we are just apes bowing before another ape who groomed us well enough to become the pack leader. That is so disturbing to me, I can't even describe it.